Hi, it's Nathan here coming to you from CUDA, and today we're talking about high-risk work licensing. So this is not to be confused with high-risk construction work that requires a SWIMS to be developed. This is high-risk work licensing, which is a government-issued license for tasks that are deemed as high-risk work. So under the regulations, the vast majority of legal duties are to do what's reasonable, or they're kind of like a subjective measure, whereas high-risk licensing is one of these explicit legal requirements. What it says is, if you're doing these tasks, you need to have a high-risk work license. It's outlined, or the different tasks or classifications of high-risk work are in Schedule 3 of the WHS regulations. If you're in health and safety, that's the first schedule you'll probably learn. I've been doing it 15 years. I know 3 schedules, and that's one of them. So some of the more common types, particularly in construction and manufacturing, are forklift, rigging, dogging, lots of different cranes. Most cranes need a high-risk license, scaffolding over 4 meters. Because it is an explicit legal requirement and it is one of the core legal requirements under the regulations, it's heavily enforced. If you have a forklift in your workplace, you really, really need to have someone trained on that, someone with the high-risk work license. If an inspector comes out, you sort of best case scenario looking at an improvement notice, worst case scenario looking at fines or prosecution. Because it's not a subjective requirement, you can't really argue that, oh, well, we thought we were okay or we thought we were doing enough. It's like either have the license or you don't have the license. It's a government issue license. It's not just going off and doing a course. There's actually a little bit of a process in getting the license. There are some companies that'll offer, well, there's essentially 2 ways to get the license. One is like an intensive delivery where you'll go off and do like a 3 or 5 day course and you'll leave at the end with the license. Or the other way is more common in my experience, where you'll go and you'll do like a half day or full day sort of introductory training course where you get a familiarization with the legislation and the hazards and common hazards and controls, and then a little bit of a light familiarization with the actual task. And then you'll be issued a logbook, and then you are legally able to perform that task in the workplace under supervision. And then you log a certain number of hours, and once you're confident, you go back and sit the assessment. Now, they used to, in Queensland anyway, they used to have that it was mandated as 40 hours. You had to log 40 hours under supervision before you could sit the assessment. I think they removed that. I'm fairly sure they removed it in Queensland, not sure about the other jurisdictions. So then when you go back and sit the assessment, it's not like other sort of industry vocational courses where it's open book and everyone passes. You can fail a high-risk work license. It's closed book. There are questions that you have to get correct in the theory assessment or you'll fail. And there's mistakes you can make in the practical assessment that are 100% fail. If you do that, you will fail. And it's heavily, heavily regulated. So it's not just any training company that can deliver it. The people that issue the license are called high-risk work licensing assessors, and they personally have their accreditation issued by the regulator, and they're personally accountable to maintain that. And during the assessment processes, during the assessment sessions, inspectors periodically show up out of the blue, unannounced, and they assess the assessor. So yeah, it's highly, highly regulated. It's not a tick and flick course. You have to do it properly. On completion of the course, you aren't actually given your license because the license is issued by the regulator. So you'll be given typically you'll be given a statement of attainment that says you've done like the unit of competency, whatever that is, and then with a unit code. And then they'll give you a form. I can't remember the form number, but it's basically a form that the high-risk work licensing assessor fills out. And then you're legally able to do that task now in the workplace. The form that you get serves as your license for the interim. And then I think it's a 60-day period, but it might be a 30-day period. You have to go into the post office, fill out an application form and pay a fee. It used to be $60. It's probably gone up. That was years ago that it was $60. And and then the government will issue a license similar to a driver's license. It'll have your photo on it. And then if you get additional classes of high-risk work licensing, they will add codes to the back of that license. So you don't never have to hold like multiple physical licenses. You'll just have one. And if it's forklift, dogging, and rigging, you'll just have the codes like LF, DG, RG on the back. So if you run a business and you're doing high risk work, you need to have those licenses for your staff. Otherwise, you will get in trouble. The only exception to when someone else can do that task is if they're under training and formal training. You can't just say, oh, we're training this person. They need to have been enrolled in a course and gone and done that first day. Or for certain types of high risk work that are like plant, like let's say forklift and crane, there's an exception in the regulations that says people can operate those machines if they're loading, unloading, performing testing or maintenance. So like if you're a forklift mechanic or if you're a heavy plant mechanic or a hydraulics fitter, and you need to move a forklift while you're doing some work on it, that's fine. You can move it without the license. Technically, you don't need the license, but you should still be competent in using it. You shouldn't just jump behind the wheel and say, oh, well, I'm doing maintenance, I don't need to be licensed. But So hope that helps. See you next time.